Okay. Now, give me just a second here. And popping out the chat so I can see it while I'm working. Bump-a-boo. Yay. Okay. So, just for the heck of it, I've decided as part of the whole thing with my Titans of... This was bugging me yesterday. Yep. It's part of the whole thing about the whole Titans of Legend thing that I've got going, my Kickstarter. It's described down below. I'm going to sculpt Jack the Giant Killer. This is not Jack and the Beanstalk Jack. And this is not the Jack from that mediocre movie a few years back. This is the well, not quite fairy tale, not quite legend Jack the Giant Killer. Now, if you're watching this on YouTube after the fact, don't forget, I've got, you know, the whole like, subscribe, bell icon, blah, blah, blah. Also, Anycubic Photon makes amazing miniatures. Print's just gorgeous. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to give it just a couple minutes, see if people come in, and then I'm going to get right into making his hat. Because see, what I'm doing is I'm giving him that little hat, you know, and I'm going to give him, you know, a bit of a unique look to him. And he's going to be standing on a giant's head. Which means y'all get to see the figure that I use for sculpting giants on, which is also an original geometry figure. Now, my brain is confused. I'm doing this just because. That's why it's a completely random show outside my normal schedule of Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday on Thingiverse. It'll take a couple days because there's things going on behind the scene. Oh, the heck with it. I'm going to go ahead and just get to rocking it. So, and we are kicking it like that. Yeah. This is the default basic human figure. I've loaded him in, or my default basic human figure. I've loaded him in so I can make his hat. This is 3D Studio Max, so we're going to start. I'm going to go ahead and pull up a piece of artwork that is dating back a few years. Got the reference in here. Where is it? Got a lot of reference pictures in here. There it is. There. That's the reference picture I'm using. And that's basically what I'm going to do for his outfit. You know, loose kind of baggy clothing and that hat. So, I gotta make that hat. We're gonna start off with a cone. And let's place it center, bring it forward, up a little bit to there, and in there. Now we're going to move it into position, and I'm going to play around with its proportions, because it's obviously too small right now. I'm also going to play around with the number of height segments. Are only going to be 2. Cap segments are going to be 2, and sides are going to be 10. Editable poly, and then I'm going to take the whole thing and move it to there. And we're going to make sure that it's currently set at an X of 0. Now, why an X of 0? So that it's mostly centered. Now, we're going to take these vertexes, just those, and narrow them until they're just barely on the head. We're going to take all the vertexes, make them a little bit wider. This way, and this way. Now, one of the first things that's going to happen, I'm going to select this vertex. And actually the whole thing needs to come down simply because it's just way too high up on his head. It needs to come down almost to his forehead. There we go. Make it a little bit wider yet again. And a little bit wider this way. And I hit Z and I zoom in on it. Now, one of the things that's going to happen is I'm going to select here. And we're going to move it forward and rotate it this way. Then I'm going to select here. We're going to move it forward a little bit. And we're going to rotate it that way. And then make it a little bit like that. Now, I'm going to select all of these and hide them. Because what I'm about to do, also I need to select these and make them a little bit wider, just a little bit. So what I can do, yeah, I gotta hide. And then, boom, boom, boom. Select those vertexes and hide them so I can be accurate on what I'm about to do. And what we're going to do is what's called a target weld. I'm going to select these vertexes and cause them to weld into those. The reason being is how I'm going to make the back of the hat. Okay. Now I can unhide all the vertexes and unhide all the polygons. Then select these, and I'm going to extrude them by local normal. Start at 1 millimeter and go down to about there. Okay, and then move it down. Now what I can do is I can select here and here, bring them back a bit, and make them a bit wide, just a bit wider. Then I can select here. Actually, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and give it a really close okay. Hide that and remove that. Then we're going to select here and do the same thing. Deselect the ones on top and hide that. Then I'm gonna loop and select here. Oh no, that should be good. And we're gonna chamfer 0.001. Accept. And then the last thing, zoom in. Okay. We're going to select both of them. And then here, and we're going to ring. We're going to connect them with one segment. And deselect the ones near the bottom. Reason being is this way we can kind of bring... Whoop. Wait a minute. That's not what I wanted. There we go. That's what I want. That one. ring. Okay, there we go. We're going to connect that. We're going to pull these down. There we go. The reason being is that this will then, and we're going to select that and loop. And we're going to chamfer it 0.001 as well. And then mesh smooth. 1, 2. And we have not got a good version of the hat. What I need to do now is I need to weld some of these together. Okay, let's select there and zoom in. Let's deselect that so I can zoom in here. Okay, now first things that go is, let's go to edge faces. And I can't zoom in there because it's too much. Alright, Control C to create a camera. And we're going to pull out here. But then we're going to change the size of the lens to zoom in as closely as we can. Okay, now looking at it, I'm thinking what I need to do is trying to determine which vertexes to weld. So, weld that to that. Looking at it, okay, that's this vertex and this vertex. Now it's selected on both sides and we weld them. Now, we're going to select those vertexes and weld. And then here and here. So there and there. Weld. Now let's turn off the edge faces and let's smooth at level 1. Okay. And that should help. And then, okay. Here we should have, oh, we got 2 there. Let's weld them. Now we got 4 there. Here we should have 2. Here we should have 2. And here we should have, oh, sorry, I had a bit of an alert on the phone. If I mesh smooth, okay, we're going to go for the 1. Then, I'm going to, first of all, delete this camera. I don't really need it right now. And then, I'm going to select this vertex. I'm going to go to soft selection. Use soft selection. I don't need that bad, but I do need a bit more of a pinch. Let's reduce the amount that's selected to about there. Lock soft selection. And one of the first things that's going to happen is I'm going to bring this kind of down a bit. Then I'm going to narrow it. Now when I mesh smooth, yeah, there we go. That's a bit more like the picture, the hat shown in the picture. I can shrink it vertically, though. It might make it a bit more like most people are expecting. Reset transform. Notice I don't have to hit normal this time, because what's happening is this isn't a mirrored item. It's not inverted because it's mirroring. This is just, I shrank it, so I have to reset the transform. Now I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to use a freeform deformation box. The reason being is because I really do kind of need to bring this more of a rounded egg shape and less of a what's the word I'm looking for? More of a rounded egg shape and less flattened. I need to do it at 5. So FFD box, set number of points, let's call it 666. The FFD of the beast. We're going to select here. We're going to put on control points and select here. And bring them in. Like, yeah, that's good. There, and round it out a little bit more here. There we go. Collapse all. And it's not quite as flat-sided as it was earlier. And we can further tweak it once we get it into ZBrush. So nobody else has shown up yet, huh? Nope, nobody. Well, let's pop back into here just for a second. Now, yeah, I'm here because I went ahead and made a... The next thing that we're going to be doing is we're going to be making the head that Jack's going to be standing on or stepping on. So, now, normally I would be using this figure for sculpting on. When it comes time to sculpt Jack himself, that's what I'll be using. But that's not what I'm using for the head. Instead, I have another figure I created. The base giant. Now what I need to do is I need to scale him down, because even at this size he's a bit too big. I need to make him roughly the size of his, just a little bit smaller than his calf. The reason being is so that I can have him standing on it. Let's drop it down. Oh, no, not Z, Y. So that when his chin's on the ground, nope, he's still way too big. Let's scale him down a bit more. I translate up. I think that's a little bit too small. So let's go from 31% to, let's make it 40%. Yeah, that'll probably be about right. Let's bring him forward and over a little bit. We're going to select his head so that we can zoom in. Yeah, I'm thinking that's good for him to be doing a Captain Morgan on. Oh no, let's make him a little bit small, just a little bit smaller. Let's say 37%. Yeah, and then we translate him up to about there. And what I'm going to do, his exact position isn't going to be as important right now. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to expand from selected. I am then going to select everything on the giant. Go to all and visible off. Then I'm going to close his collars to make things easier. And I'm going to select his neck through his eyes and turn them on. Okay. Then I'm going to turn off the base male. Now, when Daz Studio exports things to OBJ format, it only exports what's currently visible. Now, let's give him a little bit of an expression. So select the head, zoom in. We're going to give him a little bit of drooly look. Okay, just a little bit, just enough to give him some interest. And then File, Export. Now we're going to put this under we're going to put this in the Titans of Legend folder, Jack. And another folder, Sculpt. And this is Giant Head. Accept. I'm going to select the giant and delete him. So, that's where he is for right now. And still nobody in chat. Well, what we're going to do now, we're going to delete the hat. No, we're going to export the hat. File, Export Selected. Jack hat. By the way, I don't like the feather in his hat because that's just a bit too cliche. Okay. Then we're going to delete the hat now that I've exported it. And we're going to hide frozen objects. Then import Titans of Legend, Jack, Sculpt, Giant Head. Import. Now, looking at it, what we really need to do is we need to kind of straighten out, and we need to select an edge loop that will give us a nice, as close to a nice flat neck as we can. I'll select there and loop. Then we're going to split. I'm going to select this part of the neck and delete it. Now, the next thing is we're going to rotate this back a bit. Now we're going to select this vertex, this last tiniest little vertex right there. And we're going to use soft selection like we did before. We're going to reduce what's affected. And then kind of pull it back a bit. Just to make it look like that particular one was. Now we're going to reduce what's affected here. Pull it down. Okay. Then we're going to select that whole edge and turn off soft selection. I'm going to bring it down below the bottom, and then I'm going to scale it in the Y, which on that window, Y is up and down, 0, to make it flat. And I'm going to bring it up a bit, and actually back a little bit, and enlarge it ever so slightly. And then make it there we go. Now I've switched to regular, so I can chamfer it at a 0.001. Then select it again and collapse. Now I select one of these. Yeah, there we go. Excellent. and chamfer it. 0.001. Yay. This is going to get sculpted, so we're going to go ahead and rotate it a little bit so it's kind of off to one side. And we can export it now. Giant head. Yes. Export. Done. And then poke my head back in here. Oh, I got 2 people watching. Hey, Kim! Neither. Jack the Giant Killer is not the same person as Jack and the Beanstalk Jack. So, this is the one who just later on, you know, he just killed a whole bunch of giants. Let me go ahead and pop that up there. Just to show you again, I'm going to pop over to Dev Studio and reopen this. To show you again, this is the Jack the Giant Killer that I'm doing. He actually was a warrior type. Now, first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go to import his hat. Once again, it's going to be something, it's kind of primitive right now, but we're going to sculpt on it when we get it into ZBrush. And then we're going to import the giant head. And we're going to use Control-D to drop it to the ground. Something else we're going to do some fancy little sculpting on once we get it into ZBrush. Now, the next thing is we need to make his pose. We're going to give Jack a sword. Let's go ahead and give him just a regular arming sword. Let's say arming sword 02. Because I don't use that often. Now, what we're going to do, first things first, we're going to rotate the hip. As usual. Let's bring this up. D to try and kind of make that leg up on the ground. I'm going to side this. Actually, we need to twist it just a little bit. And bend. Side to side. Twist. Let's go ahead and pin the hip. So I can then grab this, pull it up. Oh, I forgot. I forgot to lock the side to side on that shin. Alright, now we're going to side to side it a little bit. And bend it forward a little. Then we can bring it up just a little bit more. We're going to bend the abdomen back so that he can have a more triumphant pose. Oh, wait, that's going to be a problem. We're going to have to bend this foot. Now we're going to unpin all. We're going to pin this foot, translation and rotation. Then grab the hip and come down. View from the right view, just to make sure we got this foot in place. On the ground plane, it's a little bit high still, so let's bring it down. There, that's good. Now we're going to take this and we're going to move it to there. Yeah, then we're going to have the chest bend forward and side to, well, let's move the waist side to side. that way a bit. We're also going to pin this kind of get rid of some of the issues with the pose at the hip. Now we're going to side to side the chest a lot and twist. And we're going to raise this shoulder and twist it because he's going to be, for all intents and purposes, holding his sword triumphantly over his head. Alright, we need to move that abdomen forward just a little and twist it. Just side to side a bit more. Okay, now I'm gonna go ahead and have him let's raise that and go back a little and bend that. Let's kind of pull it back just a bit. And let's give him a fist pose for his... Do I have his fist on here, or... I believe we got in poses. Left fist. Okay. We're going to rotate the fist like that. And then we're going to select everything on that hand and we're going to shrink it a little bit just to cheat it. Just to cheat it. Scale. Okay, now I need to unpin this foot. Then I need to select this. I'm going to X-translate it over. There we go. And then forward. Oh, no. Now I need to pin this foot. I'm going to select and translate it forward. There we go. That's got a better balance to him. Oh no. Let's pull it kind of like that. There we go. That's what we need. Now we're going to move the neck kind of to the side a little bit that way. And then bring the head back the other way. Bend it back. No, let's bring this back because that's too much to the side. Then we're going to select the jaw and we're going to Z-rotate it. Because he's going to be... Which means that the... Yeah, left brow needs to be... Left brow needs to be down. And right brow needs to be up. Have that arrogant little expression. We're gonna tweak that expression when we get into ZBrush. Then I'm thinking that because of the way this picture is, I don't think I need to put on the full tunic, but just in case, let's do it. Content library clothing, the tunic skirt. Okay, now the next thing we do, we go back to parameters. We're going to go to each expand from selected. Okay, and then we're going to hide the chest. Now, right thigh is twist of negative 8.66. So this right thigh twist is 8.66. We're doing this to kind of straighten things out a little bit. The left thigh twist is 32.01. So this is negative 32.01. And bam! You see how much of an improvement that made and how the skirt is fitting? I say skirt, it's not really a skirt. We're also going to make this thigh a little bit shorter. And then we're going to make this thigh a little bit shorter. Because again, this is less of a tunic. Alright, so this is where we're going to start the figure. The problem is, he's got a pretty wide stance there. So, we're going to import the base. We're going to make it, let's see. Let's go ahead and make it grassy. And as you can see from the front view, we're going to lower it down to where it's there. Uh-oh. I see a problem. Yeah, let's... Okay. Now, perspective view, you can see that... Okay, we can bring it forward. Is this going to be enough? Yes, it is. There we go. I thought we were going to have a problem with the base, but we're not. Now, not... Whoop, that didn't do anything good. Okay, so first things first. Let's go through and hide the hat, the tunic skirt, and the giant head and the base. Let's also go here and unpin all, just because. Yeah, he's going to be standing on the head of a giant that he killed. Bah. Gonna hide him. We're going to replace the hat. Export Jack hat. Yes. Accept. Hide the hat and make the sword visible. Jack sword. So if there were, you know, half a tenor of them, would that be a Jack sword 5? I'll export Jack tunic. Hide it, and then file export Jack head. And the size of this is probably about a hill giant, and then file export Jack base. Accept. Now we're in ZBrush. Let's go ahead and import that Jack body. Titans of Legend, Jack. Sculpt, Jack body. Zoom, edit. Before we do anything else, we're getting rid of that tumor. Okay. Let's reduce the intensity now to about there, and just slowly, well, a little bit higher. Just kind of slowly smooth it out. Okay. Now we're going to append subtools. Append, polymesh, import, Jack hat. And polymesh, import jack tunic. Sword and polymesh, import head, and append polymesh, import check base. Now, once again, we have this all ready and prepared. We are actually going to start work on the head first. We're going to hide everything else. Now, one of the things we're going to do is we're going to use the Move Topological tool to make the mouth a bit more real. I'm going to pull it back. Pull it down like that. I'm going to make it kind of drooly. Because who knows what kind of giant this really was. Uh-oh. That was not that was a mistake. Let's bring that in closer to the teeth. I don't know if you noticed, but I accidentally pulled the gums out of the teeth. Or the teeth out of the gums. Now we're going to bring this down, this up. He's going to be a sad little dead giant. Okay. Now, we are going to polygroup by autogroups. Okay, that tells me I need to come in here with inflate, shrink it down quite a bit, and increase the intensity quite a bit, and inflate the tongue. Why? To make sure that this is all closed off for during the Dynamesh. Now we're going to subdivide it a bit until it's, let's do 2.4, and then we're going to Dynamesh it at 768. We want it around, well, it's not enough, 1024. We want it as close to 1,000,000 starting as we can. That's close enough. We can subdivide it a couple times. We're going to shrink this and smooth over the eye. I accidentally picked up a package of... oh Lord, the cat's got back here. Yeah. I had accidentally picked up a package of... sandpaper. It's not going in the Kickstarter, but it is kind of being done as advertising for the Kickstarter, you might say. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do, we're going to open Slash. Going to make it a good bit bigger. And we're going to turn off Lazy Mouse. And turn it down quite a bit, to about 15, about 12, because this is going to be kind of big. With the stylus, I'm going to come around from here. No. I'm going to come along like that. Yeah, that's good. And then we're going to come a little bit deeper here as I press down harder and then come around. Now we're going to reduce the intensity quite a bit, but we're going to leave the size, because we're going to be doing things like under there. And then we're going to smooth over and smooth over here. Then kind of reduce the intensity even more and just arc a couple places to really emphasize these lines. And we're going to come underneath, and I can already see a place I'm going to have to hit with inflate briefly. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2. Reduce that inflate quite a bit. It's going to inflate down here. And then smooth it to make it a bit more even. We're going to come in down these lines here just to really emphasize the jaw. And kind of come down this way. Actually, the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to go ahead and do the clay buildup because I had an idea while looking at this. Let's just go ahead and make this what's going to be his beard. He's going to have a Lincoln beard, which is not quite as much fun to play with as a Lincoln log. Thankfully, Lincoln logs weren't that much fun to play with to begin with, as someone who actually owns some. Yes, I'm that old. If you were fascinated by log cabins, maybe, but in the 80s, I don't know of any kids that were fascinated by log cabins, and then kind of build it up from the bottom of the lip here. As the giant's head is already getting a bit of character to it. Then we're going to go back to slash. We're going to increase the sub, and we're just going to kind of come around, like following the strokes of the slashing here. That one missed. Just kind of emphasizing the actual edge of it to make it easier to paint and easier to isolate while painting. Yeah, I mentioned I was doing Jack the Giant Slayer to someone today, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna have the vine with him?" Like, no, that's Jack and the Beanstalk, who was a kid, Jack the Giant Slayer was an adult. Or at least by their standards, he was an adult. There. Now we're going to add in addition. We're going to make it a little bit larger and a little bit softer. And I'm going to kind of just drift across. Yeah, I'm kind of trying to do some advertising for the Kickstarter, because the Kickstarter's not... Well, it's kind of weak right now. Part of it might be I'm used to the way sales behaved for my pretty much my main job, where 90% of your sales are in the first 2 weeks and 75% in the first week. When I understand, you actually get more at the tail end of a Kickstarter than you do during the Kickstarter, so I can only hope. There's his beard. In fact, let's go ahead and give him big bushy eyebrows. Let me go ahead and hit that. Go back to slash, go to sub, back up to, yeah, that'll do. Just kind of bring it in and just make some curly Q shapes in it. Just to kind of emphasize the and then add, drop down to 10, and then burp. Burp, burp. We're going back to subtractive slash. We're going to make it a little bit bigger. What we're going to do now is we're going to do some detailing. First of all, let's shrink it a little bit, make it really intense, and outline those eyes. Make sure that they're nice and sunken into their eye sockets. Alrighty. And there we go. Next, we're going to make them a little bit bigger and a lot weaker. We're going to start drawing in like the shape of the eye sockets here. And then like little bags under the eyes. Okay, and then just kind of come them down a little bit. Also going to come under the nostrils here. A little bit of move. Bring it down right here. Kind of bring it up a bit. Just to make it more plain. And we zoom out. And we have, okay, we're going to need to inflate up in there. Just kind of seal that off. because we don't want this to be the point at which the prints fail. Frame out. Okay, now we need to work on the ears, and then maybe some wrinkles in the. Actually, let's go back to slash. And let's add in some wrinkles, because everybody gets wrinkles when they raise their eyebrows like that. Let's make it smaller and a little bit more intense and redo some of these. And then we're going to kind of smooth over the top ones. Yeah. And then smooth over the edge here. Alright, now, let's go back to inflate. Drop it down to about 10. And we're going to start off by inflating here. No. There we go. And then we're going to make it bigger, and we're going to inflate one last time over here. There we go. We're going to go back to slash, make it much bigger and weaker. We're going to just kind of bring it up along here. Yep. And here. There we go. Now we're going to kind of draw in where that is. Smoothing over here. A little bit of smoothing over here. After the smoothing, we got the moving. Grab here and pull it up this way. And then we're going to shrink this, and we're going to grab here and pull it out. Then with inflate, higher intensity but smaller size. We're going to kind of bring it in here, just to give it some of that more realistic look to the ear shape. Frame out, and that's our giant head he's going to be standing on. Well, let's give him a couple wrinkles on the back of the neck. Go back to slash. We want the large weak slashes, so we're going to come under. Whoop. Shrink this, and then we're going to shrink it some more, and we're going to come in under here and then hit it with number 1 a couple times to make it a bit deeper. Okay, there we go. Our giant's head. Time to start working on good old Jack himself. Hello, Mark. Yeah. It is being used as a footstool for Jack the Giant Slayer. Now, speaking of Jack, we now need to make his head pop. So the way we're going to do this, we're going to start here. And we're going to use move, topological. Then we're going to make it a little bit bigger. Let's kind of pull that in like that. Yeah. Then, let's shrink this and go back to inflate. And we're going to inflate in here to fill the mouth so that it will then be carved as the teeth of a smile. It's going to take the Dynamesh before I can get started doing that, though. Let's frame out. Is there any place I really need to... Well, he's going to be wearing a tunic, so much of this doesn't really need it. I can make this bigger and smooth out that area. No, too strong. There. Smooth out that. And then here. Okay. Now. No, that mouth is too... Right. Let's bring this back down, because that's a bit too much for that part of the mouth. It's a bit too... That's a bit more... That was a bit more Joker. There we go. There. Now, frame out. Yep. And when we zoom out to figure size... Yeah, that's looking good. Geometry, subdivide a few times. Delete lower. No, one more. Yeah. And Dynamesh was 768. Okay. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the tunic. We're going to move it up. And we're going to start manipulating its positioning. I bring it out here. Bringing it up like this. And kind of out to the back. Because it's covering the buttocks. It should be, at least. Okay, now let's undo transparent. Shrink this. I'm gonna pull it in and up. Then we're going to grab, move topological, we're going to grab the hand. Make it bigger. Okay. Making sure that's outside the skirt. There we go. Now we're going to zoom in and bring this into the body. Same thing with up here. Because we need to make sure that it blends in well for when we put the belt on. Okay. Now, let's subdivide and dynamesh it. Then merge down, always okay, and draw. And there we go, there's our waistline that we are now going to smooth out of existence. We are also going to come in here with a slash. Just simply because we need to. Well, now let's not make it a slash, let's make it orb cracks. Turn off lazy mouse, shrink it a bit more. All we're doing here is just basically emphasizing the split between the leg and the tunic. No. Let's reduce that intensity so we can come over here and not ruin everything. And there we go. Frame out. Okay. Let me get some soda real quick because my throat is dry from talking. Now, if we look at the artwork that we're using as inspiration, he's got long sleeves and a collared shirt. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make his collar up top. Alright, now let's go ahead, make the focal shift at -100 so that we get a nice hard collar, and we're going to give it a subdivision to get it back to that 1.4 million polygon look. What we're going to do is we're going to come down here and up. We're going to make two different places of extraction, or two different layers here. Okay. And then bring this around the back of the neck and this around here. Okay. And then we're going to come down here and we're going to sharpen this final meeting place. Well, okay. we're going to, not mesh integrity, subtool. We're going to extract at 0.02. And then make sure we unmask that. And on geometry, we're going to dynamesh it at 256. Then, with the move tool, the regular move, not the move topological this time, we're going to grab the bottom of this and kind of pull it in just a bit. Then we're going to smooth the bottom down here and here. Then I'm going to pull in the bottom into here because of how we're going to handle the actual collar itself. Pull it in. And I do mean in. I mean like completely sinking into the skin. In. And from back here we're going to go a little bit larger just so we can go a little bit deeper with this. Oh, no. Okay. Frame out. Now we're going to dynamesh this, or not dynamesh, subdivide it until it is really high poly. Delete lower. Frame. Now, the next thing is we're going to come here. We're gonna come as front center as possible and angle back like that. Then we're going to go as side as possible. We're going to select there. Then come to as front as we can. We're going to deselect. Oh no, that's too much. There we go. We're going to deselect about there. And then extract. Now we're going to make it 0.01 for this. Accept. Draw. Go up to here and draw. And just to make sure, let's make sure there's no others in there. Now, here we're going to dynamesh it at 256, and using the move tool, make the move just barely large enough to kind of almost reach that point, and we're going to pull it down and out a little bit, and then here we're going to pull down. Then we're going to grab here and do the same thing. We're going to grab it and we're going to pull it down. We're going to grab this end, we're going to pull it in. And that's going to be our collar. Now we're going to subdivide this a couple times. We're then going to merge it down with the base color. Hide the outer color. And blend the bottom of this with, maxed out mesh smooth. Or maxed out smoothing. Then we're going to merge down into that one and draw a little line. Then we're going to very carefully smooth out there and there, and we have our color. So we did the color with two different extrusions. One to make the actual part that's up against the neck, and then another to make the fold over portion. Now, I'm going to do something I should have done when I first brought this in. I'm going to kind of inflate this area here so I can then smooth it over. Let's bring that smoothing back to 100. Smooth it over. Kind of minimize the appearance of buttocks. And then smooth. Yeah. This is supposed to be a relatively child-friendly sculpt, I say, as he stands on the beheaded giant head. Okay, next is his wrist cuffs, the cuffs of his shirt on his wrists, and we're going to do it very simply. I'm just going to draw on a little bit more, because there. And here. And then we're going to extrude those at 0.02, or extract them at 0.02. Now let's make that 0.015. We'll deal with them in a little bit. Geometry, let's Dynamesh at 256 and subdivide them and delete lower, and that'll be good enough. The next thing would be, once again, let's look at our reference. Well, he's got a belt, he's got boots that are kind of slack, and he's got that hat. So we're going to go ahead and just do the slack boots now. What we're going to do is we're going to first kind of smooth out that part of the calf. Then we're going to draw in cuffs that are at an angle. That was too much of an angle. Okay, drawing cuffs there. And that's good enough. Then we're going to come over here. Going to angle it that way. And we're going to extract those at 0.02. Draw and draw. About the only thing left to do now on his actual clothing before we start wrinkling things is his belt. So we need a much thinner belt than that, about there. Zoom, and what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the belt goes above. Well, first he needs another layer of subdivision. Alright, so we're going to make sure that the belt goes above the bend in the actually going to lose a little bit here. Trim it just a bit. And we're going to shrink it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then just a little bit right here. One, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Oh, did y'all hear that they tried to get Chuck Norris to audition for Shaggy? Uh-huh. But Chuck Norris read the first few lines at his audition and it aged him 40 years. Frame out. And we're going to extract that. Wait. Accept. Draw. Draw. Geometry. Dynamesh. Let's make it 368. And zoom out. And yeah, that came out nicely. It's not. Oh, we got a little bit of bend back in here. So we're gonna flatten it out here. And flatten it out here. And what we're going to do next is we're coming up to the front and we're going to add on his buckle. We're going to use a standard buckle. And just make sure we have that depth at 0. We're going to put it over here. Put that like that. Yeah. Then we're going to make sure we split it off, split unmasked parts, and we're going to use the move tool, kind of make it a little bit bigger, kind of grab it by the tip and pull it out. Oh, not big enough. The tip and kind of pull it out a little bit like there. Okay, now we're going to zoom out. Okay, we have his basic clothing items on now. So let's go ahead and start refining with the wrinkles, refine the teeth, and refine the hands. Then we'll get into the sword, and that'll be about it. So we're going to look here, frame, click there, just long enough so I can shrink this. And we're going to just smooth over this whole section here. The reason being is because at this small, we don't need to actually do all the individual teeth. Instead, what we're going to do is we're going to draw in the outline around the teeth from the mouth. Then we're going to shrink the mouse again and smooth out where it meets the lips, because we need this smaller and deeper in than where it is. Okay. Then once again, we're going to come around. Actually, no, we need to bring it around like this. come around, and then smooth out the inside. And then one last time, slightly smaller mouse, just to kind of refine the edge there. Then we're going to smooth out up here, just so we can actually start drawing in our details for the head. And then with inflate, I'm gonna kind of come under here and then a little bit above, just a little bit, and then a little bit of smoothing. Meant to move zoom out. Shrink. Bring it up like that and kind of inflate a little bit down here. Smooth out that whole area there. And then a little bit on the brow, just to make the brow shape a bit more exaggerated. Okay. The hat. Bing. We're gonna grab and move the hat a bit. For example, we're going to make the mouse bigger on move. We're going to kind of pull it around the brow there. We're going to bring it in on the front a little bit, just to kind of bend it, make it look a bit more worn and lived in. We're going to go to inflate, but we're going to deflate just a little bit around here. And then to here. We're going to grab and move out that way, out to the side on top and out to this side. We're then going to kind of pull it forward and in. Just to kind of give it more of a lived-in look to it. And then we're going to subdivide it. $140, yeah, that'll do. Get some more soda. And I guess hair would actually be next. Then we'll do the wrinkling. Oh, get my foot under me. Okay, so for the hair, we have to go ahead and go back to him. We're going to turn off this hat. Select the head so we can zoom in on it. And then we're not going to do anything with the front hair because it's covered by the hat. But we're going to go ahead whoops. You ever have that one friend who finds the most obscure things to make puns about? Apparently I am that friend for several people I know. I actually found a way to make a pun for a philosophy of religious mysticism known as gematria. So yeah, I'm kind of goofy that way. How many people are in there here right now? Is it just you and, oh, viewers 5? Okay, we got quite a few. Alright, now we got this. We're going to go ahead and extract it 0.02. Accept. Draw. I'm going to grab him. I'm going to grab him and draw to get rid of the masking. We're going to go to geometry. We're going to dynamesh it at 128. Then, before we do anything else, we're going to make the hat visible again, because we need to move large chunks of the hair so that they're not poking through the hat. Yeah, there we go. Now let's make the hat invisible again because we have to, so we can actually do what we're about to do. Now, I'm going to smooth it just a little. Oh, too much. Smooth it just a little on top. Yes, without the hat, he looks like he's got a really weird receding hairline. Who knew? Jack the Giant Killer has a receding hairline. And then geometry. We're going to subdivide it until it's really nice and smooth. There we go. Actually, we're going to now grab move. We're going to kind of drag some of it out and over the collar area, because he's got long hair, kind of long hair, at least according to the artwork. Alright, now we're going to smooth out at maximum. We're going to smooth out the sides of this. Yeah, see, Shinju heard that Black Panther got a Screen Actors Guild Award, and she's like, well, that's a Black Panther, I'm a white kitty, I should get him too. Yeah. Now, we're going to use the clay build-up brush to build up the individual locks of hair, because he's got long flowy hair. Alright, number 1, that's not big enough. Number 2, we need to reduce the focal shift a little bit. Number 3, we need to make it a little bit more intense. Okay. Okay, then we're going back to slash. Z sub, we're going to make it a 15 size and a 15 integrity. I'm going to draw in some of these. Okay. The wilder the hair, the better this method works. And then we're going back to add, but we're dropping it down to 8. We're just going to kind of sharpen the tops, or the centers, I should say, of these particular locks, so that it'll grab up the paint when it comes time. And let's see how it looks with the hat involved. Okay, we're going to need to move some of these back under the hat without losing the shape. So if we erased them, we'd lose the shape, and that wouldn't be what we want. So by moving them a little bit deeper, we keep the shape of these locks and the sharp versus dull that we had. Okay, so that's the hair. Now we need the wrinklies. Hi, Jacob. So what do you think of this footstool, huh? Let me go ahead and pop open his sword and his the base. And we'll let it sit there for a second because I know I've got to put some liquid on here. See, the thing is, I tell dad jokes from time to time, but I don't have kids. That makes me a faux pas. Once again, we're going to use clay buildup to build up the basics of the positioning of the wrinkles. We're going to bring that down and bring the intensity down a little. Oh, nobody responded to my faux pas joke. Darn it. Let's go ahead and smooth out that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Hitting the number 1 on the top row bar repeats what you just did. So, need to make it smaller. We're gonna smooth out the bottoms of these wrinkles. Remember, this is not the actual wrinkles. This is just what's going to be the wrinkles when I hit it with the slash. You know, like he did to the giant. Okay. And then down here it needs to be smooth. Okay, and then okay, that's good. And then we're gonna kind of smooth out here. We're gonna smooth up here. Okay. Then we're gonna kind of, let's shrink it a little bit more. Zoom in on the hips. I'm going to kind of draw a couple wrinkles up here. Okay. And we're going to smooth out that. They're going to kind of pull them under like that. And then that. And the top of this. Just remember, wrinkles have gravity. They're pretty serious stuff. And that was reaching. Okay. Now remember, this is just, I'm just going through and giving some basic positioning for these wrinkles. Because they'll... This needs to be smooth. Okay, then we're gonna come on down and smooth out this. Okay, and then down here we're going to smooth this out again. Yeah, frame out. Okay, so we have the wrinkles in position. No one expects the Spanish. No one expects the wrinkles in position. And now it's time to sharpen them. Let's start off with a sub of 12. And make it a little bit bigger. And just very carefully, very lightly go over the... It needs to be a good bit bigger and a little bit more intense. Just very lightly go over the space between the wrinkles. Because what's going to happen is this is going to be a bit more defining than what we currently have in the because what's going to happen is this is where any wash... Oh, that one didn't do well. That one went... Any washes people will use for this will go in here. Will sink into these crevices. I'm going to come under here. And under here. And then across here. Across here. And then we're going to zoom up here where we did it before. We're going to come across like that, come down just a little bit more this way and a little bit kind of there. Okay. Then wrinkles. We're going to, the legs come down from here. That one needs to be here. You want to try and come close to the bottom of the wrinkle when you do these. If you haven't seen me talk about making these wrinkles before, you want to make sure that your edges are near the bottom from the point of view of you know, whatever's upright for the figure. Because what will happen is that's because wrinkles form based on gravity and motion. And so wherever is the bottom of the wrinkle will have both the edge and the undercut. Okay. And now an add. Now the add we're going to drop down to 8. And we're only going to do it on some of them. The larger ones. The ones more dramatic. Because otherwise it will end up with basically every wrinkle being the same intensity. Well, for some of these that's okay. For others, we really want to just kind of focus on just a few. Okay, down. And down here. Oh, no. Zoom in so I can be a little bit more accurate on this. And let's just go ahead and make sure we get this divided there. Frame out. Alrighty, now let's subdivide the sword. Divide it again. Yeah. And let's dynamize it at 768. And subdivide it twice more, because we want to start, we're going to put something on the sword. Namely, we're going to write on it with the orb cracks 2. Something more familiar for the tailor, but 7 in one. If you don't get that, well, turn it this way. 7 in 1. Desk. And so what he did, he swatted them with a piece of leather he had. And he got 7 flies in one swing. So he marked on that piece of leather 7 in one blow. And then made it into a belt. And he wore it around town. And the king totally misunderstood and thought that this tailor had killed 7 men in one blow. And started sending him off after giants. Yepper. So I'm thinking he's mostly done. He is exactly what he is supposed to be. Let's compare it to our little artwork here. He's being a bit more arrogant about things, and he doesn't have the feather. I don't like the feather. That's just me. He also looks a little bit older, but yeah, this is Jack the Giant Killer when he's older. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead with the base first. We're going to Dynamesh it at 512 because, well, it kind of needs to be. Okay, that way we now can go up to our top side and just start merging down until we've got the entirety of the figure as one single subtool for all purposes. There we go. And now we're going into geometry and we're going to Dynamesh it and see how he looks. Make sure he does well. Yep. No, you're supposed to stay back there. Okay. Now, it's time to decimate it. Let's go ahead and make him 100 polys, mostly so we can keep the detail on the giant's head and on that and all that. So we click custom, and it starts going through the whole thing. And it's going to go from 1.039 million polygons into 100,293. Okay, Shinji, get over. No. You want to come over here? Yeah. I'll give you snuggles later after the show's over, okay, baby girl? Yeah, good girl. Okay, so it's 100,000 polys. Now this will not immediately show up on my Thingiverse. There's reasons. But we're going to go ahead and export this out as Jack the Giant Killer. Yay! And we're back. So, it is now only 8:45, but I started quite early. And I'm going to go ahead and, well, we can talk about random subjects for the next few minutes. Or however long I end up rambling on. I mean, like, we got kitties. You know, we got all sorts of things we could talk about. Did y'all see the video I posted earlier today? The one about anatomy. You know? Anatomy. And I just discovered that I have a Ralph down there. Anatomy. I am a giant. He's just a gnat to me. Well, it goes into the idea of, like, when I made this sucker, how I based most of the torso and legs off of big cats, and, you know, other sorts of, you know, anatomical things, skin, bony landmarks, muscle patterns, that sort of thing. And hello, Attila. Well, most of my videos consist of me actually live on screen sculpting miniature, prop, or something else for tabletop gaming. Most of my pre-recorded videos are just general advice videos, like the one I posted earlier today about anatomy, and the couple I posted much earlier about posing and proportions. So I hope you enjoy. I'm going to try and come up with some more pre-recorded videos, because there's all sorts of subjects I could cover on sculpting for printing. As things stand, right now I am in the middle of a Kickstarter. This Kickstarter is something that most of you have seen. I'm almost guaranteed that most of you have seen it. And, well, the best way to put it is to actually just put the picture up. Okay? And that picture is this. Bam! Titans of Legend. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's STL files for several giants, terrain pieces, and characters, based around giants of myth and legend, but usable as generic figures for giants and other creatures as well. Grendel might be in my manifestations of sculpting ability half troll, half giant. But you could use them to represent just a troll. You could use a cormorant, who's rather large. You could just shrink him down a little bit, use him as a hill giant. You know, the files themselves are quite versatile. Just a little bit of imagination. Also includes the first true paladin, Roland of Charlemagne. Well, he could be the general of your army. He could be just a generic paladin who happens to have a horn. The figure for Beowulf could be a generic barbarian with a nice heavy Viking broadsword. So do any of you have any... Oh dear. I just realized I've been sculpting this whole time, and I haven't been signed into the proper account. I currently don't have mod privileges on my own chat. Thankfully, Kim's here. Oops. Do you mind? No. No. Down you go. You wouldn't. Because if you do, I'll come back in my primary account, in the actual 3D sculpted printed minis account. Anyway, does anyone have any questions or subjects they would like to talk about concerning sculpting for 3D printing, printing miniatures, painting miniatures? I've been painting since 1984. Admittedly, I had a 15-year gap and I've only been painting again for the past 6 months or so. But, yeah. Or cats. We can talk about cats too. Do you mind? Stop clawing up my chair, okay? And no, you can't wreak havoc with Shinju. It's okay, baby girl. Beep. Now, yes, I'm moving you all the way over here so you can't cause problems with Shinju. Anyway, they get along great, but they also fight all the time. Not claws out trying to kill, but more like paws in, wrestle, tumble, wreak havoc. They will make room for each other at the food bowl. There's no way cats that don't like each other would do that. But Shinju knows she's the boss, and Ralph wants to be the boss. Go figure. Yes. Anyway, anything sculpting related or miniature related? Oh, I do have some advice on sculpting related. If you ever want to use putty to modify a miniature, you've heard of green stuff, the 2-part epoxy. If you ever get it, don't get the stuff from Games Workshop. Instead, what you get, let me pull this out, is this. This is 3 feet of the Neatite. And it costs about, well, as you can see here at the store I got it from, it costs $17. For 6 inches, 1/6 of this, it's about $8 from Games Workshop, or 10, depending on when and where you get it. What are you doing? What are you doing? Yep. And see, in my case, alright, the 1609 for the Games Workshop strips, or for the 36 inches, which comes out to 3.5 ounces. Alright, you're sliding off, Fuzzbutt. Come on. Come on, down you go. I let you sit up there for far too long. It was 1609 for the Games Work. Oh, for the Neatite 36. Yeah, and it's like $8 to $10 for 6 inches from Games Workshop. I mean, green stuff. That's all you got to say. You say that to almost any old school gamer and they'll know it. Now, funny thing is, that's what they sculpt the originals out of for the actual, when they were doing them by hand. Yeah, see, that's just outrageous. I mean, that's as bad as what they're doing with Laman Medium. Some of you have noticed that you can't see my paints. Oh, looky there. You can't see my paints because they're not up on the wall. That's because on the past couple Wednesdays I've been teaching my gaming group to paint, and I've currently got my paints in a a bucket. Anyway. Yeah, I'm gonna change my... You can hear... For her, switch account, 3D Sculpted Printed Minis. Yeah, there we go. And make sure I got this set to 480. Pop out chat. And there we go. Bring that over and there we go. Oh yeah, it's the thing that gets me is really and truly the only major purpose for green stuff from a gamer's perspective is if you're going to be modifying your figures. And I only knew a very rare few of us that would do that with green stuff. Most people would use bits and bobs from other models, super glue them on, and then use a gap filler around, like Squadron Green Putty, which is infinitely cheaper. The only major use I ever had for Kneadatite, this stuff, you can see it like that better, was when I was sculpting by hand. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I need to see that, because it's cool. Someone on Reddit came up with this little thing. It's you put a figure in and you turn, and it, closes it in. Put like either magnets or something like that on the bottom. Can't kick me now. Now, do I have... Oh, have I shown you how the icons came out? Flaming spear? No. Hey, Fuzzbutt. Fuzzbutt. Nope. No. No. No, no, no. Down you go. Oh God, Ralph, did you have to? Oh my God. One problem Ralph has when he's really, really happy and when he's relaxed, he farts. Oh God. Oh God, yes. Yes. Oh, and these came out perfectly. The Cloud of Daggers came out perfect. I was scared because of all the little pointy bits. It's as tiny as it is. There's no way this could ever be made into a mold. I mean, it's just outrageous. There's no way. And the Arcane Eye. Yay. Anyway, so, well, it's 9 o'clock. I started at what? What time did I start? Probably about a little after 7. So I guess that means that, Jack actually took less time than the average Patreon figure now. Grasping Vine. Mm-hmm. The only miniature that doubles as a hanger. Yeah, I really wanted to. I'll be honest. This was the one I mostly wanted to print because number one, sculpting flame is always good practice. You know, making sure that it looks like flame can be difficult. And number two, flaming sphere is one of those figures, one of those spells that my gaming group uses a lot because you can roll it over targets and then end up. Well, like I said, it is now 9 o'clock. If you're watching this later on YouTube after the fact and you've actually made it all the way to the end, congratulations. Thank you. And number two, don't forget the whole like, subscribe, and bell icon stuff. And Anycubic. It's a magical miniature making machine. So I'm going to go ahead and hold up my hand. I'm going to count down from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, I'm going to say something goofy, and I'm going to log out. Alright, so is everyone ready for the countdown? That's going to be a 5, a 4, a 3, a 2, and a 1. Hey, this time I didn't get my crotch jumped on and squished by a 19-pound cat. Good night.